We are live.
Well, hello everybody. This is Jason Hodge. I am joined with Jordana Seligman and Jason Snyder, and we're coming to you as we do every week on Monday to talk about the things that matter most inside of the internet marketing world and what we're doing with our business with automation and systems. Now, as you well should know by now, that my initiative is to help 200 nonprofit organizations this year keep their doors from closing. Jason's got his own initiative, as does Jordana, and we will probably be joined by some of our other teammates, business partners, as the call of the hangout goes on. But without further ado, let them introduce themselves to you. Jordana, you're up.
Hi, I'm Jordana Seligman, Success Machine. Happy to be here to offer anything from what my experience has been and to learn.
Hello, my name is Jason Snyder from Create Flow Consulting. I am basically want to set a new standard in the home-based industry by creating a new standard level of training so no one is lost when they enter this space of a home-based business.
All right. Well, with that said, now we were talking about what were we going to talk about today, right? And so we're kind of bouncing the ball back and forth with, okay, what is going to be most efficient, most effective, the most intriguing? And Jordana came up with a great topic, and the topic was event training as opposed to daily training, and some of the nuances behind, why you would use events as opposed to daily training. So, Jordana, let's kind of dive into that.
Sure.
All right.
Well, initially for some people might think, well, why do I have to go to an event when I can just plug into the daily audios that the company provides and all the wonderful, produced materials that we have and products. But the inspiration kind of propels you much further than you would normally go on your own using trainings daily, which are important and valuable and keep you consistent. But you just get that boost and the level of energy and inspiration and possibilities of learning and tapping into other resources, all available in a short distance at the event. Is just can't find it any other way.
Right. Basically. Yeah, and and funny enough, the events tend to power so many other things outside of the events. Like, if it weren't for that I had attended the last event, I would not have met Jason, and I would not have met you. I would not have met Stephanie or Lynn or Charity or Jay, Wilkes, and Ricky, so or Kirsten, so here it goes. The list continues to go on and on and on. just from attending an event to run into folks who have like minds who are working their own businesses and being able to bounce ideas off of one another to better our individual businesses. Each one of us has a different perspective, different reason why we're doing what we're doing. But in the midst of the counsel that we have, we're able to borrow from one another different techniques and strategies and ways in which to go about increasing the effectiveness of our businesses. So I can't stress the importance of events enough, that the events are more than just going to some, gathering where you just go hurrah all day, but it's where you actually do connect with other businesses and you power your business. You can actually build your income level just by the connections that you make inside of these events. I don't care what event it is, what organization, it's the fact that you are connecting with peers inside of your industry or complementary industries that will grow your business that much more.
And the value of connecting with like-minded people who are doing what you're doing and those who are doing more than you're doing lifts you up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing too is Jordana, you mentioned the energy from the event. I think you kind of put yourself in a different space because you're going to have some sort of breakthrough while you're there. You're going to have something that's going to propel you for the next 90 days from the event to kind of push you forward in a different direction to create a different success for you. And the success may not actually be in wealth or dollars per se, but you can look at wealth in numerous different ways a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of friendship, a wealth of communication, a wealth of, you know, whatever you want to consider your particular wealth to be. You know, I attended 2 events. I've been in Empower for less than a year now. I want to say I'm going on 6 months in Empower, 7 months in Empower. And from those 2 events, I have not only developed a niche of friends who I can call and ask questions or concerns, or just have anything I want to put out there and get positive feedback, and also get feedback. Well, maybe you should tweak this over here, or maybe you should try it this way. Because as one, you're a singular, but as a unit, you're more powerful, and you have this mastermind of ideas that you put forth and you can tap into at any time.
Absolutely. You know, and the funny thing is that I've heard very few people, but I have heard those who have talked about that they don't attend events because, you know, it's just not worth their while. And for those people, chances are that they don't go to the event, you know, whether it's Empower or any other event. I'm just talking about in general here, but that they don't tend to go to the event with an intention in mind. You know, they don't have the reason for going, you know, so when they go, it's just kind of all over the board. They don't have a particular target, and therefore they don't end up extracting from the event what it is that they're looking for, you know. One of the things that I think everybody should do when they're thinking of attending an event is to have an intention before you go. Yes. What is it that you want to get out of the event? You know, who do you want to connect with? Who do you want to meet? And that way, it's kind of like it puts it on your radar, you know. And in putting it on your radar, now you begin to attract those people. I can say that every event that I've been to, I've gone there with a clear, defined goal or objective, and I have never left the event with that not being fulfilled.
You know, that is a great point, because I remember the Miami event, Tracy Walker was talking about that, and she mentioned 3 things you want to take from this event. Now, before I went, I set an intention on going. You know, I had an intention of being backstage. I had the intention of meeting Dave Sharp, and I had the intention of coming home with a group of people I can come to, I can count on, or bounce ideas off of.
Right.
Well, I got all 3 and then some. Right. Not only did I meet, you know, Dave, I met Vic,
Paul Gardner,
Eric Raction. But the biggest thing for me is I got to go backstage and I got to hang out with these guys for a little while, and I was like just the fly paper on the wall, just observing what's going on. And in that space, in that moment, that's when Dave Sharp came over to me and shook my hand and said, you know, I appreciate what you guys are doing here for us. And to me, that just made my event. That just made my event. It made my event. It made me springboard and see that this is all possible, because so many people get caught up with believing it's a scam, or it's not possible, or I can't do this. But what you have to do is you have to tap into that inner self, and this is what an event can do for you. You tap into that space to where you remember how you felt, say, that Friday night when Dave Wood was speaking, and he was able to touch you in a certain way that actually brought a tear down your eye. You come back to that space where it makes you want to drive harder. When Dave Sharp said, it's our time, it's my time. Well, you know, you need those kind of moments to push you forward through the hard times, those obstacles that may get in your way, because if not, you may fall flat on your face. You may not want to get up. And see, that can be the difference between success and failure, or is that moment when you don't want to get up, but something inside you tells you it's still your time. You just got to get up and do it a different way. And once you kind of tap into that, it opens up the world to you, because right beyond that may be your success story. You won't know until you put the work in to get there.
One other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's fun. Don't let us interrupt your view. It's fun. I mean, the events are fun. I call it fun. I mean, we're learning and we're hanging out with these wonderful people, and we are part of a movement for all we know is going to revolutionize the way we make money on the planet. And we're all part of it. And then there's parties, there's dancing, all with learning involved, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't miss it.
Mm-hmm. And now, if you notice that of all the events, there is definitely a structured system that's in place moving up into the events, once you're at the events, and following the events, right?
Yeah, it's almost
Now,
like that.
just that alone, it shows you a working model of how to run a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you notice that every event, I don't really care what event that you're going to, right? Every business or organization that runs a successful event, the end result is a net gain in community. The community builds further, and then also the strategies that you're able to glean from attending the events, the training, right,
Mm-hmm.
that goes into it in order to make your business that much more sustainable. So here it is, the events that we have been attending, right, they go into it showing the power of telling that personal story, the power of being clear on who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and also the power of connecting to a community of like-minded individuals. You know, all of that is run inside of that event, and we see it from a systematic approach. So I think that, you know, we probably should look at systems, you know, somewhere in this conversation of, you know, this whole training. How do we look at it from a systematic standpoint, a systematized standpoint, and break that down so that when the person finishes watching this hangout, they can take something away from it where they're like, wow, okay, I never really thought about my business should be systematized. My life should be systematized in some way, shape, or form in order to drive success forward.
Well, yeah, and I like you bring that up because, you know, whenever you have a system in place, and this is the reason why I love this business model, is because you basically set the system up and you let the system work for you, you know. And you know, at my first event, I had some stuff in place. I didn't have my own system in place, but I had some stuff in place. But I still was on the spot. Okay, I had to prepare for the event when I got there, so that I was still doing my daily blogs. I was still, you know, sending out emails. I had all this stuff in place. So I mean, part of it was automatic, but I wanted to sit out to my list to say, hey, you know, I'm at this event and I'm meeting these incredible people. You know, showing them pictures and videos of just the scenery, the scenic, who I'm talking to, who I'm associating with. But if you have now, are you talking, Jason? Are you talking about a system in place as far as to carry you through, so it takes less work off of you, or the actual systematic setup of the event to pre-frame that breakthrough?
I'm looking at them both because there's systems that run into the systems. There's systems that run systems. You know? Okay, for example, when I was doing the programming, right, for the channels that I was running, you know, I was interim program director for one of the major cable stations for a moment, and I used to have to manage the database. Now, when my boss would go on vacation, then I'd end up sitting in that chair, and I would have to make sure that I kept everything running smoothly. So then what I ended up doing was building macros in order to do that. So I created systems that would run the systems that were in place in order to make sure that I was able to do that job along with the job that I was hired for, along with doing my production work, right? So I had to make sure that everything fell together at the right time. Now, so that's a system within a system. What it is that we do here is a system within a system. Inside of the system is the subsystem that governs the events that we go to, right? In the governing of those events, there's the content that's in there, there's the feel-good stuff, and then there's the call to actions, all of the stuff to actually drive more business. So I'm looking at the whole picture, you know, how systems are interlocked, how they work together, and then what it is that we can glean from those systems and say, okay, so now let's take that macro model, convert it into a micro model, and apply it to what we're doing in order to grow it back into a macro model for our industry.
I see.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they include marketing. They market and up the sales of products at the events as well. So, they're not hiding it. They're teaching us how to do it as we're involved in the process.
Exactly. And it's like looking at a Mandelbrot set or a fractal or something, right? You see this thing that it goes on infinitum. The more microscopic you look at it, it just continues to repeat itself. And then the larger you look at it, it continues to repeat itself. So that means that a sound system can be scaled down or scaled up infinitum, right? Without there being a glitch, because you're running on the same principles. So if we were to take our businesses or the businesses of our clients, for those of us who work with clients, such as myself, and say, okay, so now we need to implement a system in what it is that you do. For example, with the nonprofit organizations, the biggest challenge that they have is that they don't have enough time in the day to do their organization and to try and keep their doors open. So then when I go in there, I say, okay, well, first of all, we need to get you cash positive. We need to create more revenue streams coming in, so that way you can really focus in on what it is that you opened your doors to do in the first place. So let's do that, get something sustainable going, and let's make sure that it's systematized so that if any one of those things fail, you can just pop it out, and pop another one into it. It's a cubicle, right? So that is a system now running a system. We have a system to basically call all of the stuff that is junk, that will not work for this particular organization. Another system to now siphon in or funnel in the things that will work and put them in place. And then the system that is going to manage those systems, right?
Yeah, and see, that makes a lot of sense, because you want to get rid of what doesn't work, first of all, right? And I kind of take it from the standpoint of if I'm going to do, say, one thing, I'll set it up in 4 different ways, right? I'll have, say, 4 different ad copies. So if it's an advertisement for some reason, I'll set up 4 different ad copies, and I'll have like a rotator basically. And with that, I'll test and see what's going to do well, and what doesn't do well, I'll get rid of and add to it. And I'll keep on playing that little game until I'm capturing what I want to capture from that. And I guess that's what using a tracker and your rotator, and then looking at seeing what copy is working and what copy is not working, and then adjusting accordingly based on your results. And I think that's a way to scale down what doesn't work and then scale up what does work. I'm looking at my hands, and I use my hands all the time, and it's backward. It's playing games. Look, it's playing games.
Yeah. You just do the robot thing to it.
So so you scale it out what's not working, and then scale up what is working. You maybe pump more money into that if you have the money to pump into that, and then you try something else. So it's always a game of checkmate with myself to try to do myself.
Right. And now imagine taking that same thing and applying it to a business, like humanizing the business so that the business is starting to think like a person. A lot of times what happens, at least per my experience, is that there's a disconnect that comes into the business where they think of it less than a person. So therefore, they're like, well, the business has to run this way, and this way, and this way. But without that human element, the business may connect with another business who is also running on mechanics, but it may not connect with that person that is going to open up their wallet. So nonprofit, same thing. If you are running a fundraiser or donation or whatever that you're trying to pull money into the organization, and you don't make the connection between your ideal funders, then you basically are spinning your wheels. You're just kind of going through the motions. So to take those things, just like how you were talking about there, and to turn them into a game, if you will, or a way to test and tweak and test and tweak and test and tweak until you get that perfect mixture, then you put that out there and you say, okay, now let's just optimize this thing that is already working and let's scale it up.
Yes. And that's the what is it? I had a thought and it kind of escaped me right now, but it's kind of like the you mentioned optimization. Hey, it lost me. It'll come back to me in a second.
Okay. But you know what? Why don't we touch on this real quick then? Just the basic needs that your business or your project or whatever will need in order to flourish online. You know, 3 basic things is that they need an audience. You know, they need cash flow coming in from that audience.
Yes.
You know, and they need a way to capture that audience. You know, so you know we talk about just the basic 3 all the time. Okay, you need a way to capture, so that's your lead capture page. You know, you need the audience, so you need to know where to go to get that audience, and that's going to come with your research. You know,
Yes.
who is your ideal funder, or who is your ideal customer, your ideal client, whatever that is, right? And that's going to be based on whatever your particular niche is. And now the way in which you go about that, that may be a little different. You may have to tweak that because it's not always the obvious answer, right? For example, you know, you may think that you're a gardener, okay? You may think that your ideal customer, you know, is somebody who goes and shops at nurseries. And that may not necessarily be your ideal customer. That may be the person who is a hobbyist who doesn't want anybody doing their garden. You may find that your best client base will come from those new homes that have just been purchased, or those homes that are being flipped. And so now you need to get somebody out there who is an expert at what they do, you know, you being the gardener, an expert at what you do. You get in front of those people because they don't have the time to sit there and do the hobby thing of getting their place together. They want to flip that house fast. They want to make it look really nice for the potential buyer. So then that's your particular, your ideal client base. You know, totally different from where you may have, you know, been marketing before, but it's a great fit. So just in orbing people's minds around how to think about getting in front of their ideal community, that's a whole discussion that's like, okay, you know, most people miss, I'm finding, which is why they don't have the positive results that they're looking for online. They're fishing in the wrong pond.
Yeah, and you know, and that ties into what my thought was, keyword research.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how important is that? I mean, that's something I'm trying to develop. One of my skills I'm trying to develop is, you know, keyword research, because if you're not talking to the right person, you're not going to get the right result. Mm-hmm. And I was just on an inner circle call when David was talking about, you know, closing a sale, and he said it's talking to that person at the right time, basically in your sales funnel, to where they will actually want to buy. Mm-hmm. It's not convincing anybody to do anything. It's just having the right conversation with them at the right time. It's not necessarily what you say to them to convince them to close, because they're already convinced. Mm-hmm. They just want that personal connection between you and them. See if this is real. Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they want that security that this solution is, you know, going to deliver on one of their core desires, one of their core initiatives. For some, the core initiative is that they want to look good in the process. For others, they want to boost in their paycheck. So depending on what it is and how you solve their particular issue, it goes a long way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the low-tech ways to get that research done. If you are not working with some really high-end software and all of that, some of my favorite low-tech ways are the library. You'd be surprised at the amount of information that your research librarian has inside of their head, and the way in which they can go about gathering intel for you. They can, I make it a point every time I go into a new city or move to a new place or whatever, I make friends with the librarians, because I know that I'm going to need to utilize their services on many occasions. Because there's some things that, even though you can find a lot of things online, you can find pretty much anything online, really. But it pays to have somebody who that is what they do day in and day out. They just researched. They have more time than you do, especially if you're scaling your business. Yes. And you can give them, a slew of things that you want checked out, and they are happy to do it. I had a conversation, it was about maybe a half-an-hour conversation, maybe longer, with the librarian. And I started asking her questions. She got excited. She was like, "Oh my gosh, nobody ever asked, like finally we can take this degree and use it." Like, okay.
And you can picture your opportunity.
Like, yeah. And then she started showing me different resources, and she was like, this resource is so underused. I don't know why people don't use it. I mean, the fact that I was interested in employing her expertise, it just, the relationship shot up. We were, fast best friends, right?
Yes.
And she gave me way more than I asked for. And then she's like, hey, Jason, anytime that you need anything, just go ahead, give me a call or shoot me a text or whatever. And then, I'll go ahead and put together a research for you. So it pays to make friends with your librarian. So that's a low-tech way that gets you high-tech results, and it's free.
Yes.
Another way is Google Alerts. Most people really don't understand the power of Google Alerts, but there's ways that you can use Google Alerts that you can understand not only your marketplace, what they're looking for, what is being published, but you can understand when it's being published and when it's being, when the highest concentration of that publishing is. So you get an idea of when your marketplace is moving, right? And like, say, for example, that you notice that, hey, I noticed that at 2 a.m., there is a lot of content posted on underwater basket weaving. So why would I then at 5 p.m. go to post my content on underwater basket weaving? I post my content on underwater basket weaving at 1:55 a.m. Since 2 a.m. is when the onslaught of it is. I want to be there before the rest of it, gets there and totally gums up my audience, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you start to develop strategies and the right tactics just based on how you go about researching. So there's two great resources: your librarian, your research librarian, and Google Alerts. Another great thing is Twitter. Twitter trends, Twitter. You can use Twitter as a search engine as well as Facebook, as well as YouTube. You can search those things to see, okay, what is popular right now and what is popular in my particular niche and who is commenting on those things, and let me get in front of those people because they may be the very ones who will drive targeted traffic to my site or to my video or to my content of like-minded individuals who would eventually end up supporting what it is that I'm doing. So, if you approach it from a different mindset altogether, don't approach it from a consumer standpoint, but approach it from a researcher standpoint and say, okay, now how can this work out to not only my benefit, but the benefit of those who are getting in front of my content.
And a lot of people, hey Lynn, how you doing?
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn.
A lot of people, they use the, you know what? We're talking about, I guess, research and what was it, building up to the event?
Yeah, event training, as opposed to daily training, and how all of those things work together in a system.
And now research tools like Google AdWords research tool.
Oh, that's a nice one too. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also free. They just changed it a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's available. I find it a little bit the way they changed it. Sometimes I have to play around with it a little bit, but it certainly does get the result of.
What is it called?
Google. I forget if it's AdWords, Google Research Tool, or Keyword Tool.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One I was looking to, and Jake, you may know something about this, is there's a Alexa toolbar or something like that.
Oh, Alexa, yeah, Alexa.com, I love it. Didn't we go to Alexa? Excuse me.
Oh, no.
Didn't we go to Alexa in that training?
Yeah, we did that one. And that was some real in-depth keyword research, right? I mean, you broke down how much money this person makes, what they buy. That was some really good keyword training right there.
Yeah, that's when you're going to get inside of the mind of your potential client, funder, whatever. You understand, okay, this is where they're at. This is how they move when they're online.
Yes.
This is what they have an affinity towards. So instead of and that's really great when you are trying to understand the best place to place your ads.
Yes.
If you don't know where the people are going, then you just kind of randomly putting your ads out there, and so you're not going to have the return on investment that you would have if you just put a little knowledge behind what it is that you're doing, and that way you're not shooting in the dark. So you can go and find right on Alexa or Compete or one of the other hubs out there, and you can get an idea, actually an exact idea of where the majority of the folks inside of your niche are coming from and going to. You know, you do that in Google as well. And by doing that, you end up getting the information of where your ad placement should be and what you should be talking about. Because, you know, like we didn't get a chance to go deeper into it, you know, as deep as I would have wanted to that day. But when you go to those different places, you start seeing the common thread that runs in the copy. You start seeing how the copy is written, the different triggers, the mental triggers, the different social platforms that they put on there for folks to share it on. You know, and that also gives you an indication of where their concentration of audience is located. You know, like, for example, if you see a Twitter feed but you don't necessarily see a G+ feed, then you know, okay, so they don't have a large audience in G+. Not that they couldn't, it's just that they have recognized that they get more traction from Twitter, so that's what they're placing on their site, you know, or Facebook or whatever. So you start getting a feel and knowing that, okay, so if they're mostly getting from Twitter, then that's the microblogging community who may be a little more news oriented, you know, so let me kind of be a little more newsy in my ad copy when I'm placing an ad in these areas, you know, and then it also gives you an idea of what it is you should be looking for when you're doing like a native ad buy, you know. So all of these things give you a great snapshot of how to start structuring your systems and your campaigns. Yeah, I love this stuff.
Well, you know, and all it is really is just paying attention when you're in that space, paying attention to what's around you, and kind of extracting some of that information, and of course, you know, forming it in your own way, and then putting out your own copy based on some of that information that's there. You have the ability to tap into any niche you want to, but you don't want to just tap into a niche and, you know, and not extract the right person out of that, because what's going to end up happening, and when I first started advertising online, is what happened was you'll get people to opt in, to, you know, they'll be attracted to it and they'll opt into it, but in the end result, it's not what they expected.
Right.
So your email open rate's not going to be the same because of that. Oh, they feel, oh, this person lied to me, or whatever the case, however they're feeling, they're not going to open and respond to your emails, and so you have a dead list. You know, you want someone to be excited about your list. I think you want about your email. So when you send out an email, you want them to be excited about opening it up. Like, oh, what's here today? What's going to be the training today? Or what is it we're going to talk about today? Almost like a TV show, right? We're going to here to entertain, right? So that, you know, you're waiting for the next episode of it. Say it's The Walking Dead or 90210, whatever show you want to watch. You want your email response to kind of be the same way based on your initial value you put out there to that particular niche or marketplace.
Did they bring back 90210?
You know, I don't know. I just made that up.
Oh, I was like, wow. I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay.
Aging us.
Yeah, but you're right.
I know. It is aging us.
Thanks for that.
I should have acted like I didn't know what he was talking about. I don't know. I don't know that.
Is that that show on the CW or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that's right though. That's right.
I haven't watched any TV in a few months, and you know, I have Amazon TV, and I watch that every now and then, right? But hanging out with my folks like watching TV, so I had my share of TV watching this weekend.
What
we
they like
did
to watch?
movies at the end of last week. We popped in Amazon Prime.
Yes.
And go through and see, you know, well, you do realize that, you know, and this is off topic, but, you know, we do that every now and then.
Yes.
24 is back, right? And Jack is back in full.
Yes.
And so we went ahead and grabbed that. You know, we bought the series, so, you know, we get our Amazon Prime discount. And every week they send us an email saying, okay, your next episode is ready. And, you know, I'm not really that much into episodic, you know, TV or content like that, except for 24 is the exception.
Oh, yes.
24 is the exception.
I think that should on the edge of your seat every episode. That's what I like.
I love the writing on there. Okay, and which reminds me, though, okay, so here it is. I love the writing on 24. Do you know, though, that you can use these addictive television programs, right? You can use those as study material Same thing like how you, if you want to write really good copy, my suggestion to you, and I learned this from one of my mentors, John Carlton, is that you read the tabloids. Not because you just like salacious gossip, that's not the point, right? The point is that when you start looking at how they pattern and string, you know, all of the paragraphs and sentences together, you start seeing that there is a system. Here we are back at systems, right? There's a system that they use in order to emotionally tie you into or anchor you into the content to take you from start to finish. So they move you with a continual or consistent series of cliffhangers that you just have to read that next sentence or have to go to that next paragraph. So by studying what it is that they're doing, it improves the way in which you develop your content. You know, you can structure it and outline it in a way where you're like, okay, yeah, this, now when I write, people are going to read all the way to the end, because, you know, it's something about our tendency as humans is that we don't like cliffhangers. We don't like to not know. Our curiosity will always get us, unless we just have so much mind control, right? But our curiosity usually is the thing that gets us to keep us sticking to the end of a movie or of a book or of a whatever it is. So when you couple curiosity with really great content, you know, you kind of string everything together, you can get those eyes and those ears to get all the way to the end. I would also suggest that you listen to old-time radio. You know, remember before there was TV, there was radio. Listen to those shows, those dramas and things like that. And notice how they use sound. Notice the Foley operator, how they're, you know, adding just the right elements at the right time to kind of, you know, spark your attention, to reset your attention, to get you to stick with it all the way to the end. And then at the end, they never ended it. It was all, stay tuned next week for, you know, when Johnny, blah, 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 you know. So there is a method to it, and it is, again, using a system of writing copy. It is a scientific way in which they produce that copy or that content or that storyline in order to get you to tune in the following week. Because remember, they had to do that because that is how they sold products. The content really was not the entertainment. The entertainment was the filler. The content was the commercial that filler was keeping people in tune for, so they can hear the commercial message of the sponsor. Brought to you by such and such soap, you know, buy our soap, right? So that was the marriage right there.
Here's a link.
Yeah, that was basically the link back then. So now we have, you know, we also have, like, you know, the sugar bowl, the orange bowl. It's like, okay, did we ever stop to think about what those bowls actually were for? The sugar bowl was being put on by the sugar industry, you know, the orange bowl by the orange, you know. So here it is, these things that we think is the content. We think the football games are the content. We think that, you know, those are just a filler for the sponsor to put a Coke ad in front of you, you know, or a Twinkie ad or whatever, right? That's what that's all about. If we understand that, we also can structure our content in the same way so that we now become the filler with the content, and the call to action is the action. The filler is the copy, right? The call to action is the content, the action that we want them to take.
Tony Rush mentioned the same points in the 15K formula, where he's talked about copyright. He related it to a best-selling author and how they structure the paragraph structure of this particular, I can't remember the author's name, but this particular author's books, and why he's a bestseller, because it's an easy read. So if you know, in from what I learned from kind of the copy is what you when you're in that space, you want it to be, I guess, spoken word, basically, right? Which is how you personally speak, and it's structured in a way so it's easy for the person to read what's going on, so that there's no, you see that block of words, that big long paragraph right there. Like, I don't want to read that. That's just a natural resistance that we have to something like that. But if you space it out a little bit, make it easy to read, and then more people want to read your emails.
Yeah, and you know, when you can deliver a consistent message, you magnetically attract those who would read that message and interact with it, engage with it. You have to, again, be clear on what it is that you're doing it for. You know, one of the things that Vic talked about, which I appreciated him bringing that up, is that it's important to start out with an end goal in mind.
Yes.
I believe that. I believe that's how you should live life. What is your end goal? What's your overall big picture, your big why, and your big who? And so if you start out with that, then you measure all of your activity based on, is it taking me towards or away from my end goal objective? If it's taking me away from it, I have to put it on the table. I have to put it on the shelf, right? I got to table it. If it's taking me towards it, then let me find out where on the priority list that it fits, so I know that I'm doing it at the right time. So we're looking at seasonal things and relevancy. You know, which one or ones do those things that we're doing play into?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think that's basically how you set your goals basically for yourself. You know, like we talked about before, Jason, with that end result in mind. What do you want to? Why are you doing this? What do you want to take out of this? What is the purpose of me doing this, or what's the reason behind me doing this? Mm-hmm. You come up with a lot different reason than just, oh, I'm here to make $1 million, or I'm here just to do this, or I'm just here, you know. And it'll actually help guide you through the rough times when you see and have that vision in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you want to offer the market?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's really where it's all about. It's like, if we are not constantly bringing value to our given marketplaces, then we become obsolete, because really nobody cares, you know, and I don't mean to say this in a curt way, but nobody really cares about what you want to do for yourself.
Yeah.
They want to know, okay, how does your presence in my life add value to what it is that I've got going on?
Yes.
And so if we as marketers, media planners, business professionals, folks who are organizing or running projects, whatever it is, whichever part of those categories that you fall into, if we're not constantly thinking of how can we create the win-win-win situation, we win, they win, and those that they serve win, then we are basically signing our own, you know, eviction notice to the industry, you know, basically. Yeah. We have to constantly be thinking of what is in it for you. How do I help you achieve what you want to achieve? It's like when Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get to where they want to go, you will get to where you want to go. And it becomes an automatic thing. Yes. And then you don't have to think about, oh, I need to do this in order to make this sale to get this money. It's like, no. I just need to structure the things so that all of that stuff is automated. Look, I've got some value to offer you. Here's where you can go to get it. Click that link. There's the price tag to it. And if I've done my job right, if I've done it correctly, you will have gotten so much value out of just this minimal interaction that we've had that you're saying, well, if he could do this in such a short period of time, what can he do when I actually do give him my full undivided attention? Let me click that link and see what's on the other side of that link, because I got something out of this call right now that will build my business. It'll put more money into our bank accounts, and it'll keep our doors open, whatever it is, right? So now they go ahead, they click that link, and now they're right inside of the funnel. You know?
I like how Vic explains it. Going back to Vic, he calls it the Goodwill bank account. You know, you put out as much value as you expect to get back, right? So you constantly are trying to put out good value to your subscribers, your followers, or whoever's out to hear your message. And the more value you put out, per se, I think the more in return you're going to get back, and however you want that to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you do that, you know.
It's Absolutely. Almost time for the Empower Hour.
Okay, closing words. And
I just wanted to say, stay tuned for next week. One of the Jasons, you don't know which one, is going to do something never done before on Google Hangouts.
Mm-hmm.
Try to figure out, so you can guess which Jason is going to be. And then what are they going to do?
You know, there's like 4 of us, right? 3 of us?
Jason Woods, Jason Smallwood, Jason Hodges, Jason Snyder.
No S. Hodge, no S.
Hodge, sorry.
Okay, so closing words, everybody. Okay, so Jordana, you just did yours. Lynn?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just here for the ride today.
All right. Well,
Happy
great
to have
you.
Great to have you.
All right, Jason.
You know what? In this world, this marketing space, I kind of want to change the just because of my personal experience and how I started without the proper information presented to me. I want to put out the proper information to the world so that we all can stake our claim and have abundance come in our life, however you want to see abundance come into your life, by creating a new standard in this field, and by continue to share value to the world.
Awesome. And my closing is real quick. Let me give you the phone number. The phone number for the call tonight is area code 299-255-1040. Again, that's 209-255-1040. And if you've heard something today, which I'm pretty sure that you did, that added value to your life, you're going to see a link on the pages, our respective pages. Go ahead and click the link and get involved with this, because it's more than just a business, a network marketing business or whatever. It actually has a training in place, a system in place that not only shows you how to create your own systems, but it also builds you in so many different ways, from the events to the interaction to the business opportunities that you get when you are meeting people who come from all different walks of life, all different parts of the world, literally. And they begin to have this giant mastermind, such as how you see right now, what we're having. These are the things that set you up in life to be able to do whatever it is that you choose to do. You get the skill set in place in order to leverage the online, the digital world, and to grow and expand from there. So whatever income level that you want, it's just a matter of applying the right system and scaling it properly. And you learn that inside of the product suite that we have. So with that said, I'm Jason Hodge. I will see you next week, along with Jason Snyder, Jordana Seligman, Lynn Guthrie Robinson, and some of our others who aren't here today. We'll see you next week, every Monday. All right, catch you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was fun.
Still live.